Alright, please forgive the sound of the nail guns on the equipment across the street at the apartments. It sounds like they're doing a new roof or something. But here's an update to my landscaping. My spearmint bush has grown really big. It overtook everything else around it. I got some portulaca. There are some varieties that some people call rose moss. They're over there. Got some lights up there. Let's look at my windmill palm plants, the Trachycarpus Fortunei. So they have fresh growth. So these are the Chinese windmill palm, known as Trachycarpus Fortunei, and it is a type of fan palm. You can see how the fronds look. Some people might call them leaves, but they're called fronds. Now you can see there's fresh growth right there. So these have been in the ground since about the third week of April. So they've been in the ground for about five weeks. And the soil here where I live is very much red clay. But I dug a hole about 2 foot wide, nearly 2 foot wide, and nearly 2 foot deep, and I filled it in with what was called topsoil, but it just looked like finely shredded mulch, kind of like taco cheese. So it's just shredded wood. That's what they're growing in, and they've been in here in that soil for more than a month and have not died. Furthermore, there's fresh growth you can see there. So you can see the spike that my finger's on. It's going to be a new frond. You can see the individual, yeah, you can see what it's made of inside. It's basically one of these fronds. It's all compacted. So it's kind of like an umbrella when it's closed up. They open up and become a frond, which looks like a fan. This one you can see has fresh growth. This one is had the largest hole in the ground. It was 2 foot wide and 2 foot deep, and I mixed the topsoil, that just finely shredded wood that looks like that finely shredded taco cheese, and I did mix it with sand. But here's one of the new fronds right there. You can see it's kind of opened up, and it's growing another one. So it's growing 2 new fronds since I planted it in the third week of April 2026. So there's that one that is in the process of opening up there. But here's another frond starting right there. So that's 2 new fronds that it's grown since I planted it in late April of 2026. So they are not dying, they are growing. I'm in southern Indiana, zone 7A, and this is my first time growing these kind of plants. Here's a fresh new frond here. As you can see, it's opening up. Now this frond is kind of dying. Now you can see some of the mulch there. And then you can also see some of these, you can see a little bit of that weed barrier. Yeah, you can definitely see the weed barrier here. That's a good fabric weed barrier, and it doesn't even let light through there. This one has a new frond. Growing right there is a spike. My finger's touching it. Let's see if I can show you where it's opening up. Yeah, you can see it right in there. Get some more detail. Yeah. See it? It kind of looks like a closed up umbrella. So that's them. There's my solar powered lights. I got them positioned to light up these And they look really good at any angle. I had never done this before. I got this done in May of 2026. So just about a month ago. Because now it's June of 2026. I believe it's June 4th, 2026 right now. But I just love how this looks. And that glowing lantern glows orange. And it's just so nice. You can see some of that landscape weed barrier that I got there. There's why, because the weeds come up. So I got the red clay. Well, the native soil to here is red clay. Then on top of it, I got a layer of black mulch, and then on top of that is that black weed barrier fabric. And on top of it is this little gravel. It looks kind of like popcorn. Here are my portulaca flowers. Rose moss, I think, is a little bit different. I think it has a little rounder kind of leaf. It doesn't look as much like a needle as this. But I love these because they look fake. They look like they're made out of rubber, and the flowers look like they're made out of tissue paper. But I like how they look. They're 100% natural, but they look artificial, and that's why I like them. See one of the flowers here. You can see them. I've always liked them ever since I was a kid. Might put some sand on top of that. I'm gonna have to bring these indoors for the winter because they like tropical temperatures. But I really would like to grow them in my yard. Here are the hostas. I remember these from when I was a kid. They're gonna have some pretty colorful flowers on them. My mom took these from her yard and planted them in mine because she grows a lot of them. And the deer like to eat them. See how their flowers are starting to come out. How their flowers form. Get you up closer. And then I got my tiki torches. This poor hosta keeps trying to grow right there, but doesn't get a lot of sunlight because the trash can sits there. And then yes, this porch is old and it's kind of rotting away. Wild strawberries are here in the carport. You can see some more wild strawberries here. And this is my project lately. These are more windmill palms. That's Trachycarpus Fortunei, same as out in the front yard. There's a new frond right there opening up. So that's fresh growth. And then the top layer of soil that's above the red clay, but right underneath the grass roots around here, will look just like this. So this is what our local dirt looks like. I bought this dirt from a supply company. Now they call this topsoil, and this is what I thought topsoil was, but when I buy it in a bag from a retail store, it just looks like finely shredded wood. But anyway, so this Trachycarpus Fortunei has got new growth on it. Here's another Trachycarpus Fortunei. You can see a new frond emerging right there, new growth. And then the poor lattice on my porch, I didn't reinforce it on the back, but it's bowing because of the pressure of the dirt. Here's another windmill palm known as the Trachycarpus Fortunei. It's got new growth right there, a new frond. One of the fronds broke off as I was planting it. That's sad. The palm tree was wounded. And then here is the 8th one. So this is another windmill palm, Trachycarpus Fortunei, and you can see that new growth, that new frond right there. Get you a close up. See if I can get it focused on. That's the growth. And then what I'm working on is like an embankment, a slope. Kind of wish this was a little bit taller. The idea is the base of these palm trees would be seen from the bottom of the deck. I wish the dirt was another 10 inches taller. And then I wish this slope was just a little bit taller. So if I can make this dirt just at least 8 inches taller. And each load of dirt is about $50. And so I got some of the red clay that I dug out of the ground up front, and then I got some of that piled up, and then I got 2 loads of dirt already on there. Really I could benefit from a 3rd load, but this stuff is like a powder when it's dry. It clumps together really good when it's wet, so I've been watering it a little bit. I want it to rain really hard to pack this into some nice mud so I can dig this back out and pile it up along the base there, pack it up along the base. Now then I plan on covering it with mulch, all this black mulch here. I got 9 bags of black mulch. I think that'll be enough. And then I'm going to remove this fence. This fence was just there to keep the dirt from all spilling out there. That's why I put that fence there. That's just some cheaper basic weed barrier, and then some chicken wire to hold the pressure. And that was a cheap way to build a fence that will hold it, so that way I kept it from spilling out there. And anyway, so there it is from the other side. There. I would like it to be a little bit taller, but the amount of sloping is okay. I just envision it taller, and I'll show you why. I want to put landscape lights there in front of the I want to put landscape lights there in front of the palm trees down at the base, at the bottom, and light those things up. Now, the kind of retainer wall block that is in the circle up front around the palm trees, I want to have down here at the base. And I want to have a slope. This is what I want to have. An embankment. I want to have retainer wall block all around. I want to, once it all packs down and I put the landscaping stuff on there, you know, the black mulch. Okay, so here's the timeline. It's got to rain really good and turn this into like a thick mud. Then I'm going to shovel more up on top there to make it a nice curvier hill. Then I'm going to take down the fence there and have a retainer wall block about a foot or so tall, and just to make it all look good. The retainer wall block is not going to be stacked as high as that fence. It's just going to be to conceal where the dirt touches the ground and starts the incline. But then I'm going to cover the whole thing with a layer of black mulch, and then I'm going to put some more solar powered landscape lights. One right there shining upward, one right there shining upward, one right there shining upward, one right there shining upward. I want to try to make it look like something out of Malibu or some kind of nice home. And eventually I'd like to landscape this too, but I might expand the deck, who knows. And I got these landscape lights, I got these solar powered lights. I got the poles up there. They are pressure treated lumber, so they're not supposed to rot, but the problem is the sunlight will destroy them, just like it started to damage, just like the sunlight started to damage this lumber. It'll eventually just dry it out and it splits. That's what happens to telephone poles as well. They eventually get brittle, especially after about 10 or 15 years. When they turn gray, they're like really brittle. But if I cover them with something, the sunlight cannot get to them and it cannot harm them. Pressure treated lumber, I've watched videos from companies where they will use a mixture of arsenic and copper, and the copper functions as an antimicrobial, and then the arsenic is a poison that will keep termites and other creatures from eating the wood. It's basically, they just poison the wood, and that's why it lasts. The pressure treating is a preservative, and it does its job to preserve the wood from rotting, but the problem is it does not protect it from sunlight. Sunlight just dries that wood out and just destroys it. But anyway, so I want to have these palm trees. I read articles saying that they get up to 40 feet tall. So eventually they will be taller than the house, but they generally grow no taller than 1 foot every year. So if you see one of those palm trees being about 40 feet tall, they're at least 50 years old. And anyway, so I want it to look really nice because this house looks kind of photogenic. And this angle, it looks amazing in the morning, at about 9 or 10 in the morning. Anyway, now for the underneath the deck, you can maybe see it's not bad enough to break because this stuff is flexible. That lattice is flexible, but I could get underneath there and put a board along the length of that to reinforce it, so it can't push in anymore. But that's just, I took plastic and put it up against the lattice and just piled dirt on top of the ground, and the pressure made it bow in like that. Sometime this summer I do need to pull this lattice out and then get in there and just run a board along this section right there and just run it horizontally right there in the middle. That'll keep that from pushing any further. And the board I might use is this one here, that I've had for several years. Long enough length, and I just need to find a way to get underneath there. I'll either nail it with a hammer, or I got some really good deck screws, but I probably need to get me an electric drill, a cordless drill, because, well, anyway, the chuck of my there's that dog again. Yep. Shut up, dog! Shut your mouth! Nobody wants to hear you! This has been going on for months, for more than a year. And this morning I was listening to a vacation video about Bora Bora, using my Sony headphones, over the ear type, that have the cup that covers your entire ear. And I was still able to hear that dog bark while watching like tropical beach videos shot by a drone of the water, below and things like that. And but anyway, put up these lights more than a week ago. Got them on a smart switch that is not weatherproof, but it is underneath there, and that switch is cheap enough that I can replace it easily if it dies. I do have one somewhere that's weatherproof, that's made to go outdoors, but I can't find it. But now these are outdoor rated light, but they don't really get wet all that much, because if you see, they're kind of underneath the roof. But they're outdoor holiday lights anyway, so they'll be protected. And then, although rain can't really get up here, and the electronics, because of the roof, problem, my God, is that dirt gets up there. That's why that cord looks so yucky. That is dirt and dust. Because the electricity's flowing through it all the time, it attracts dirt, just like a fan motor does. So I either fill in the prongs, the receptacle with hot glue to keep dirt out, or I cover it up with tape to keep dirt out. This helps to keep moisture out as well. I mean, all this stuff is outdoor rated anyway, and it is designed to handle that, and it is plugged into a GFCI protected outlet. But it's handled just well. Eventually I want to extend my deck out here, because you can see the cracks in the mud. Well, it's dry now, but that's where water pools up about 1 inch or so deep, and I have to be careful when I walk from my porch to my car. So what I thought about doing is just extending the deck out to here. And so this is elevated just a little bit higher, just a few inches higher than that part of the yard. Therefore, it does not build up any puddles of water, and plus it's also covered by the roof. But anyway, so I won't be stepping in water, but that also means that this electric cord can be rerouted. I got enough length, because you see that electric cord, there's enough length. I got enough length that I can run the electric cord down through here, hide it, conceal it behind the boards in the porch, conceal it behind the boards, and then bring it under the new part I'd like to build. Now it's going to be several inches above the ground, so it's not going to get wet by the rain. And then once it gets here, then I'm going to run it all up along the back side of this, run it right up to there, so it will be equal distance between the front of the carport and the back, so I can run some cords and run more electricity that way for lights. And I got enough to run here. Now that cord is 16 gauge, and if I remember correctly, it's about 25 foot. It's no more than 50 foot. I'm pretty sure it's only about 25 foot. Because the carport's about 7 foot from the house, so I think it's a 25 foot cable. And at that distance, you can get, you're supposed to be able to get up to 13 amps at 120 volts. So we're looking at about 1500 watt capacity. Well, let's say for simple math, you're at 10 amps, so that's 1200 watt capacity. Well, this light strip only pulls 40 watts. This strand of light definitely pulls less than 20. This strand of lights pulls less than 20 watts. I've done the math on these, and they're supposed to be, I think, about 8 watts for this strand. My point is, all of the lights combined are less than 200 watts. And I have a solid 1200 watt capacity. Because the thickness of the wire and the length of it, I got at least I got a minimum of 1,000 watt capacity on that extension cord, and this cord is the only thing plugged into that outlet. My point is, I'm pulling about 1/10. The electrical load I have on this is about 1/10 of the cable's capacity. So that means I can run other Christmas lights off of it and stuff. I can maybe run some more Here I could put up a pole here and then run some out here if I want to, but I backed my car through there, so I don't think I'm gonna run a pole through there. Hello. I might run some more there. That's just my neighbor. He saw me.